Today's March 6th, 2024. Current Bitcoin price is $66,045.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice.
Happy Hump Day, Rick.
Yes. It's an interesting day.
It is an interesting day. Yesterday was an interesting day as well.
Indeed.
So, big news yesterday. What? We crossed a new all-time high.
Just barely kissed it.
We did. It looks like, and I've seen varying charts saying different prices, but it looks like we kissed right around 69,218, which our previous all-time high, I know we've always referred to it as like the $69,000 mark. Nice. But it was actually, it looks like it was right around, let me go back. Got to go back in the way back machine.
Back in 2021.
Yeah, 68,865 looked like what it was previously. So we kissed it, and then what happened right after that?
Of course, the market tanked.
It dropped, and I think it, from what I understand, it washed out like $1 billion in liquidity, and it was like a 12 to 14% move.
Yeah, I mean, it basically went from 70, roughly 70 to, 59?
Yeah, and I saw it touch as low as 59. It didn't stay there for very long. It looked like it went back up pretty quickly. But yeah, it did what Bitcoin do. It had a crazy whiplash effect. And, and we were kind of talking about that a little bit yesterday too. It's like there were probably a lot of people that possibly bought at the top last time that just sat on their Bitcoin for a long, long time, right?
Yeah. Granted, if they lasted through that whole winter, I would just keep hanging on, but
I would too. I don't know if they were just like, I can't deal with it anymore. Like,
yeah,
get out.
I think there's something to that, but I also think if you look at some of the previous, like when it hits the all-time high, it kind of gets skittish right about there, and then it kind of bounces back or bounces off that mark because that's a new psychological barrier that we've not broken through. Yeah.
Well, and that's the big thing is at this point, like, when we get a solid close above 69,000, like a daily close above that mark, at that point we enter what they call price discovery, right?
Right.
There's no charting at that point. We have no idea where resistance levels are. We know nothing at that point.
We're in the undiscovered country.
So real quick, how's our theoretical Bitcoin purchase doing?
Okay, theoretically, bought $3,000 of Bitcoin October 27th, 2023. Just 3,000 would have got you 0.0885 Bitcoin. And at that time, Bitcoin was 30,000 something.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, with the 66,045, the investment is now at 5845.
So we've almost doubled our money.
Getting very close.
Yeah, we're just about there. It's been a crazy ride, and something we were talking about the other night too is, out of the past 4 halvings, 3 of them, Bitcoin has doubled its price after crossing the previous all-time high within 14 days. It's doubled its price. So, and I mean that there's going from like $1,500 to $3,000. It's quite a jump, but going from like 66 or well, it will have to be like 69,000, 70,000 at that point to double. That's a lot of liquidity that has to come in.
Well, that basically take it from 70 to 140.
Yeah, and that takes
hardly any time.
Takes a lot, but at the same time, we've talked about the bull market multiplier, and I mean that's something that could really be in effect. And it's kind of crazy because the amount of liquidations that did take place in that move yesterday, it almost it's almost gotten eaten right back up in less than a 24-hour period.
Yeah, no, it's pretty scary what the ETFs are still doing.
Yeah. Yeah, they, a lot of people were expecting maybe BlackRock would be a little bit skittish or didn't want to sell it, but I think BlackRock did almost 800 million in just yesterday alone. Just BlackRock, not counting the other ETFs.
No, they're just picking up steam.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they just gobbled up that move down. And I honestly think, we've talked about this before, where those of you that may not have been through previous bull markets, 30 to 40% correction is not that uncommon during a bull market with Bitcoin. When you have volatile moves to the upside, you also get volatile moves to the downside. And it's something that has felt really weird to me this cycle, is that we haven't seen those types of moves.
Now, we've seen like a move downward, but then the momentum going down is, it just hits a wall and then it bounces back up.
Yeah.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah. And I go ahead.
Yeah. It's just unnerving. It is.
Yeah. It's unreal because I was talking with my wife the other day about it, and she's like, do you have like PTSD? And I'm like, maybe, but it's just because I've been in an abusive relationship with Bitcoin in the past. It plays with your emotions at times, but like it rewards you so well.
Sometimes, and then it punishes you pretty hard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's been the big thing. And I don't know if that's going to be a continuous story. This cycle is just, we're not going to see these maybe the dips are going to be much more muted than what we've seen in previous cycles.
Well, that's one thing I have noticed. And that was the other thing, there's always a pre-happening retracement. So that's what a lot of people were suspecting was going to happen when the price was around 50. Mm-hmm. Remember, it was hovering around 50. And then, boom, it shot up like, $6,000 in one day. And then it kind of did that. Actually, that's been just based on the past couple of weeks, right? It shot up from 50, low 50s. Then it crossed into 60, hung out there. Or no, it was below 60, and then this last Monday it went crazy. It was a bunch of manic Mondays, is what I was telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever happens during the week, it's like that Monday. Because I think I was coming back from my Vegas trip, and we were in that, like, it was like the $50,000 to $53,000 range, and then we broke violently above that on that Monday. Kind of, and I could be wrong already because of the way the market's been moving, but I want to say it like popped up to like $56,000 that day. And I think we had just recorded an episode talking about how we're like, oh, I don't know, we may see a pullback or we may be range bound for a while. And I think you were like, nah, we're going to go up higher sooner. And I think I've been a little bit more bearish lately than what you have been.
Yep. I don't know. I try and be as rational, but looking at how things are going, it just seems the appetite is there.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I kind of brought up to you too is that, I mean, I guess for me, I've gotten where I think the pullbacks are healthy for the market because you need those retests to see where your support's at. But at the same time, we're seeing that. I mean, when you see those major wicks, like when we see this move, when this took place, when it dropped that far down, trying to get this out of the way here so I can see, it dropped as far down as 59,327 off of 69,218, right? So when you see that drop down and then you see this buying pressure that almost immediately comes in before that candle can close, back up to 61,309, that's letting you know there's a lot of support down there. A lot of people were eager to buy. And that happened all within the span of, what is this? What's the time frame on here? 4 hours? Like, I don't think Wall Street's prepared for that. I don't think they understand it sometimes.
No, I don't think anybody really understands it yet. But the more mass that Bitcoin accumulates, the more stable it gets. Mm-hmm. At least that's my thinking on it.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that it causes me any type of concern as we kind of continue on through this bull market with the new buyers basically in place is, they will rotate their portfolios. They'll take profits, quarterly or whatever the case may be. But who knows? I mean, that may not be a consistent case with this on here. We'll just have to kind of see how that kind of plays out. One other thing that I wanted to bring up before we kind of moved on to some of our other news, because there were some other things I wanted to bring up as well, or that we had talked about wanting to bring up before we started the show. Arizona is talking about backing their pension fund with Bitcoin now.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think you may see a lot more of that. I mean, when we were looking at a chart not too long ago, it was saying basically if you had cash at only like a 2 or 3% allocation or 1 or 2% allocation in Bitcoin, you would have been beating out the S&P 500. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't take that large of an allocation in Bitcoin to help prop up your market or your pensions and those types of things. So we may see a lot more of that type of thing happen.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll become a whole nother game when, every retirement fund tries to get 1 to 3% of their allocation in Bitcoin.
Yeah, because they don't have to put a whole lot in. It just takes a little bit. And I mean, for any of those pension funds that are cash pension funds that are maybe undervalued or, they're not supported the way they should be, having that kind of just that little bit of an allocation and all of a sudden they're flush.
Yeah, I mean, until winter sets in, of course.
Yeah, that's if we get a crypto winter. If that many people buy and they become hodlers.
Well, that's true. I mean, that depends on several factors. How many more people are going to be buying? I mean, we've obviously seen it's way more than usual now.
Yeah.
How many more people are going to get into this game? And, what other option do they have? Especially if, things happen and the money printers go burr. I mean, it's going to be the safe haven, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a real possibility. I mean, and I guess that's a big part of that is that, we've seen a few different things, and I know we need to move on to other news stuff, but we've seen this time, we saw Bitcoin do something we never thought it would do, which was go below its previous all-time high, in this crypto winter that took place. We're also seeing right now that it's breaking a new all-time high before the halving, because the halving's still 40 days away. Like, it's still a little ways away, and we're knocking at that all-time high. We have touched it already, but we haven't had a decisive break against it. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is that the new inflated all-time high, properly adjusted, would be about 79,000. There's a possibility that we may never see Bitcoin, once all this kind of dust settles and we go through this bull market this time, we may never see sub $100,000 Bitcoin ever again. Once that happens.
Well, just think about it this way. I mean, as crazy as $66,000 sounds, I mean, there's a very good chance we'll look back at this time and say, wow, that was some cheap Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking with my cousin earlier today, too, and I told him, I was like, it's not too late. Because he had talked to me about it a couple of years ago. He's like, do you buy? And I said, yeah. And he told me, he's like, oh, I didn't buy. I should have put in like $500. And then he told me, he's like, yeah, but I got a lot of Iraqi dinars. I'm like, oh, man. I don't know if that's going to play out for you. But I've heard that one before. Although, I mean, anything's possible. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I think if they fall in line, they're going to fall in line with bricks. And that's going to be whatever they do there. So,
yeah.
Another funny thing is that a friend of mine was trading Doge. And he's like, yeah, back in 2015, you told me to buy Bitcoin. I should have listened. I was like, yeah. Probably would have been a good idea. So other news, we did get a bank that was appearing to start failing today. It dropped 40% in trading, and then it got a $1 billion lifeline from former Treasury Secretary Stephen Munich's company. But the bank was New York Community Bank. It plunged 40% before the circuit breakers got kicked on it. And then it got offered a lifeline. So it started to come back up after it got reset or whatever the case may be. But we know what happened with Bitcoin previously when a bank started to collapse, right?
I mean, that's kind of when Bitcoin was in the doldrums for a long time until Silicon Valley kicked off. And that's basically been a year ago now.
Yeah. Because that was basically we were right around that $18,000 mark or something right there around there. We went almost up to 30.
Yep.
Kind of started this whole trend. Like, I think it was, let's be fair, it was probably like 18,000 went up to like 27,000. It was like, okay, feeling like some of that legitimacy is coming back. Because, you know, like that was, again, going back into that point where it's like, we don't go below the all-time high. I think we had recorded right before that. And I'm like, oh, we won't drop below that. Oh, yeah, we did.
Well, that was FTX's fault, though.
It was. I blame FTX. I blame FTX for a lot of things that happened last cycle.
Indeed.
So I think that's just something to kind of keep in mind right now, especially with the way that the price is reacting, is that, you know, Bitcoin, this is the reason why Bitcoin was created is stuff like this, where you see these bank failures happening. And then the other bit of news was Jerome Powell had to go before Congress today. And although he wasn't as dovish as I think the markets were kind of wanting him to be, he did say that, you know, it will likely be appropriate to begin dialing back policy restraint at some point this year, but I don't think he's going to make any announcement like when we have the Fed meeting minutes in March that they're going to actually begin cutting interest rates. I think it's going to continue to kind of hold. So, and on that news, go ahead.
I just want to say that I think it's going to hold until the cracks start showing in the economy.
Yeah, I think the stock market's still too hot. I think till we see jobs kind of plunge a little bit more. And then I'm kind of curious, we'll have to definitely record it. We always do around CPI, but we'll have to kind of see what the CPI numbers come out like. Because honestly, I'm expecting a little bit more of a resurgence with the inflation, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But it depends on how they bake the numbers.
I was going to say, yeah, they're cooking the numbers either way. So it's just, we're going to find out how much they're gaslighting us.
Yeah. And then gold hit a new all-time high, to be fair, basically off this news as well. So Peter Schiff can do his happy dance.
Yeah, I'm glad he gained, what is that? Like, how many percent is that really?
I don't think it was a very big percentage. I mean, currently right now, gold's at 2,150. But I think it took a little bit of a dip after it hit its high as well, just like Bitcoin did. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been watching this and we've been talking about investing in gold. You know, in the past, I think gold was a better form of currency than especially fiat. But I really think that what's been holding gold back now is the fact that people are turning to the new gold.
Yeah,
it's way better than gold in its scarcity because they can always mine more gold. I mean, it will get harder and harder through time, but still 1% to 2% gets added every year to the supply.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is gold is really hard to transport in large transactions.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Bitcoin,
you could transfer billions in your head. Billions. Try that with gold.
And you can move it from one place to another around the globe securely and pretty much instantaneously.
Yeah. Yeah. At speed of light. Yeah. I mean, and I get it, right? Like that's something we've talked about on this podcast before. I get the gold bugs argument because the Bitcoiners argument have much the same, especially like the hardcore Bitcoiners. They have the same argument. They understand the problem. We just see different solutions at this point.
Yeah. Well, I still say gold is not as convenient because if you had to flee a country and you're trying to carry your gold with you and you think you're going to go to the next country with all your reserves with you, good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. What was it? There was one dude, like, wasn't he transporting gold bars in his, you know?
I don't know how that kind of works. Never had to use the old prison wallet, but I mean,
there was somebody that he got caught with it, and I can't imagine trying to fish that gold out of there. But yeah, I mean, the portability alone and global, I mean, it's recognized globally just like gold is. I think for a digital world, it's a digital solution. So,
Right.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up today?
I think that's it for me.
One question I want to pose to you real quick. So we kind of talked about it before. When do you think we'll have that decisive break above 69,000? When do you think we'll have the break and close above 70,000? Let's just put it that way. Before the end of this week, or do you think it'll be next week? Do you think it'll be manic?
If it doesn't happen by Friday, it's not going to happen until Monday.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, it can still do that. I mean, Bitcoin's going to do what it wants to do. And people are looking at previous retracements and they're saying, well, it's got to happen this way. This is a different market.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to tell people. I mean, this one makes me scratch my head sometimes at how much momentum it has going up. So,
yeah, I've been thinking about the horrible, I don't know. It's a meme that came out a long time ago, but it was based off an old 80s video game, and it was all your bases are belong to us. And it makes me think of like when people are selling their Bitcoin the way that they're doing it. It makes me think of like that meme and just BlackRock saying all your Bitcoins are belong to us. Like whenever people are selling, that's who's buying your Bitcoin. So be careful who you're selling to.
yeah.
Real quick, if you decide you are getting into this market, and it's not financial advice, but we do highly recommend you get some exposure to Bitcoin. It's not too late. We're still very early in this bull market. You can always do your self-custody, and if you decide to go that route, you can get an LPAL or a Ledger wallet through our website at www.thebitbypodcast.com/deals. And also, while you're there, you can go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. It's under Sign Up, and we'll keep you updated on any news that we have coming up and give you our opinions on things as they're coming out.
Sounds good.
So thank you all for listening.
Yep. Bye.